What is up, everybody? Jester here, and today I embarked on a crazy experiment trying to figure out what the max movement module I could possibly get for my jetpack would be and what kind of differences it would make. There's a lot to cover. Let's jump right in. For anyone that doesn't know, you find these modules at the exosuit upgrade vendor on any space station. Now, that doesn't mean that each one of these is going to have the S-Class movement module, but this is where you go to find them, and you may have to look around at a few different stations to find them in S-Class, but take a note when you do because they will always be there once you find them. And as some of you folks know, when I do an experiment like this, I don't just test it a couple of times, I test it a whole lot. As a matter of fact, we went with 500 movement modules. We're going to open each one of these up and we're going to find out if we can even get maxed out. But I think it's important before we even look at that we look and see what these things' potential are and what we could possibly get. To get my information, I do what I often do, and that's went to the wiki. And here I found the chart that shows exactly what these modules will do. And just notice on the S-Class one, you're going to get 4 upgrades. You're always going to get jetpack tank and initial boost power, and then 2 of the 4 fuel efficiency, sprint recovery, recharge rate, and sprint distance. I want to not worry about sprint recovery time or sprint distance, so we're strictly looking for the efficiency and the recharge rate when it comes to these. And to prove why is once you get upgraded a little bit, you're not going to have to worry about your sprint recovery if you've got good recharge. Let me show you. As you can see here, I've archived all of my movement modules. Now, I do still have a little bit stuff on life support, and that will kind of skew this a bit, but just notice that I can sprint around here, and my sprint really doesn't lose nothing. But you can see I don't have much in the way of jetpack at this point because we simply don't have any modules. But even that is recharging before my sprint's running out. So I really feel like the sprint distance and the sprint recharge are wasted stats when you're looking at these modules. Another point of order here is why aren't you using X-Class? And I'm here to tell you that, as you can see, the jetpack tanks start at 100, whereas the S-Class starts at 200. So the RNG is going to be way more than you can actually overcome with an X-Class module. So unless you're absolutely in a pinch and you're very early game and it's all you have, I wouldn't mess with these whatsoever because it's almost impossible to get a good one with this. So with everything now in place, I decided to go ahead and start opening these modules, and I tracked the first 100. What I was doing was trying to find out if the same named upgrade had the same stats, kind of like statically. And the answer to that is no. A good example of this is I got the supersonic nozzles 3 different times in the first 100, and one time it had both of the upgrades I was looking for, the next time it only had one, and the next time behind that, it was both sprint distance and sprint recharge. So the stats that you receive from the named ones are not static whatsoever. This kind of put a hitch in my giddy up, but we were moving on. Eventually I got down to the final 100 and a few things started to become a little more clear. And the one thing that was really clear, my fingers were hurting. And in that final 100, a few things really kind of became apparent. Number one, when you deconstruct these things, you get all the carbon nanotubes, wiring looms, and hydrogen you're ever going to need. And then you can use those looms to sell back and then go to a pirate system and then get the X-Class upgrades through the suspicious goods and then probably recoup a lot of your nanites. So this is kind of a zero-sum total, I guess, when it comes down to it. I might have lost a few nanites. But the other thing was that I was kind of separating these into 2 separate groups. The okay upgrades and then the better than okay upgrades. So at no point did we get a perfect one, but there were 2 separate groups that I kind of wanted to see and test. So after the 500 were finally opened up, I had another couple of conclusions. Number one, out of 500 tries, we never once rolled a 35 on the jetpack tanks, which would have been the 235. That kind of disturbed me because you would think in 500 tries you would get 1 max. So therefore we never got a single max upgrade in 500 goes. But the way I thought I'd test this was to try the okay ones in a full jump versus the better ones in a full jump and see what the difference really was. So that's pretty much what I did. I did the ones that were kind of middling and I put them into my stuff. And as you can see here, the numbers aren't all that great, but they do have the things we're looking for, the 4 particular stats we wanted. And then I thought, well, what's the best way to do this except for just to try to pick a fixed point and see how far we can jump. So I went to the edge of that building and just see how far we could fly. And as it turns out, it's not a bad little jetpack boost. And sadly, it's going to be a little skewed because we came off a ledge here, but you still only go as far as you go. From there, all you gotta do is put down a save beacon, and now I've got a spot that says this is where we landed. So all we have to do now is go put in the other upgrades. And again, I want to be completely clear and honest from the get-go here. We didn't get a single max upgrade, but the second set of upgrades were better all around slightly than the first set of upgrades. That doesn't mean that they were super great, but they were a little bit better all the way around, and we even used the same supercharge slots to test all these modules. And I don't know that I can say this enough, but these aren't perfect upgrades. But all around for stats, they were better than the first set. Here you see a 229 jetpack tack, where we had a 212 on the first go. And I really wanted to see what kind of difference this would make, if we could jump a little further or a lot further, and just how much difference it made chasing down these bigger numbers. And we laid these in the exact same way that we did the first set, and then we jumped from the same spot at the same area going towards that save beacon. And believe it or not, it is a little bit further, but I think as long as you get the 4 stats you're looking for, it's not worth it, because this is only about 10 U difference, and it took me that much longer to find these higher level upgrades. So what are my conclusions for this entire experiment? And to help aid what I'm talking about, I'm going to put the wiki chart back up here on the right side. This will give you kind of a graphical reference. Number 1, the S-Class modules have more RNG than you can possibly overcome to get a max one. Let me explain. Not only do you have to win 2 coin flips, meaning you have to get the right 2 stats that you're looking for and miss sprint recovery and sprint distance, but you also have to independently max roll fuel efficiency and recharge rate while max rolling the jetpack tanks and the initial boost power. So look at it this way. If you had a 35-sided die, 2 10-sided die, and a 20-sided die, you would have to first win your 2 coin flips and then max roll in one roll all 4 of those die. The likelihood of that's got to be in the millions to 1. If somebody wants to do the math, by all means, let me know in the comments. But I expect that's got to be in the millions to 1, and testing 500 of these doesn't even scratch that surface. Conclusion 2, the X-Class upgrades are absolutely worthless. Now, I think it's a good idea if you've got a lot of units to go ahead and get the suspicious tech, or the suspicious goods, and open them up, and then you can trade those in for nanites and then go and get you the movement modules. The reason for this is the RNG is multiplied with the X-Class. Look at the chart. Not only do you have to win the coin flip between 2, 3, and 4 to get your different stat numbers, but then you have to win another 2 coin flips to get the 2 that you're looking for, as well as max roll, and the max roll distance is now way bigger. On just the jetpack tank alone, it's between 100 and 240. So now you're trying to max roll a 140-sided die, whereas you were trying to do it with a 35-sided die with the S-Class. So I think it's almost impossible to get a max X-Class upgrade. Is it possible? Sure, but I don't think you should really spend your time doing it. Conclusion number 3. I wouldn't worry too much. So long as you get the 4 stats you're looking for, I wouldn't worry too much if they're close to maxed out. I think we kind of proved that the pretty good ones that we got weren't that much better than the okay ones that we got when it came down to it. It was only about 5 to 10 or 12 U difference. And if that's important to you, then keep trying to get the bigger ones. But I don't think in the long run it's really going to make that much of a difference, because as long as your recharge rate's good, you're not going to have to worry about your sprint running out, and you're going to be able to keep jumping, and that's going to make you travel a lot faster. Hopefully you guys like these kind of experiments, because I love doing them and experimenting with different ways to be more efficient in No Man's Sky in 2023. And if you did, like the video and subscribe, because we got lots more coming in the near future. But until the next one, folks, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.